Welcome to the Do It All Dad Year podcast, dad-friendly entertainment for you and me, controlling our kids through comedy, especially on the home work remote front, can make our kids great again. Kids need dad around more. And this is season 2, episode 1, coming to terms with my ex-social life pre-3 kids. What's Hollywood was fun. Mika couldn't speak a paragraph full of English. She took me out to Sushi Roku for my birthday at 22. I should have broken up with you like a man. Sorry, special. Coming to terms with my ex-social life. Pre-3 kids. First, I got serious with my girlfriend, now wife, Natalia Duffy, because I knew deep down how much my friends from high school suck compared to her. You kill at the Comedy Cellar, and they were laughing at you, not with you. I overexplained and ruined my flow. Coming to terms with my ex-social life. Pre-3 kids. Now I don't have to waste my angel hair and white clam sauce with pepperoncinis on a baby-faced southern gal, only for her to ask if she could bring home leftovers for dessert. Coming to terms with my ex-social life. Pre-3 kids. Living in Hermosa Beach. You had to lunge at new push fast because last call was at 12:30, which sucks for a native New Yorker like myself. My yak pipes were just getting warmed up. Coming to terms with my ex-social life. Pre-3 kids. I had to endure my friend JT's tasteless Nazi jokes, but he was only half my size. And I knew he was a jealous Gentile because of my chosen curls and Vince Vaughn aura. He did call me a social genius, though. Miss you, pal. Coming to terms with my ex-social life. Pre-3 kids. My old roommate, Dan, was right. I did puff the ganja in excess for my lack of buds nearby. The puns just keep on pouring out of me, people. I can't help myself sometimes. But once again, like I said, coming to terms with my ex-social life, pre-3 kids. My old roommate, Dan, was right. I did puff the ganja in excess for my lack of buds nearby. Jacob, my dealer, was the best. He'd meet me like in a millisecond for a freaking dime bag. Always made him laugh. And it wasn't very funny back then either. Totally blanking on how I met him. Quick side note, people. If you're suffering from writer's block, then delete your dealer's phone number. Obviously, I never had a problem with writer's block. Coming to terms with my ex-social life. And I missed you all, by the way. I know it's been 2 weeks. My intention here was, for the second season of the Do It All Dad Year podcast, I'm only going to interview Do It All Dads. Because, A, they don't plop down from trees, but I'm going to find them anyway. Because I listened to my old pilot episode, and I thought to myself, well, my wife, I was able to negotiate like a weekend away from the wife and kids, and they're in Delaware. I thought to myself, okay, you really need to interview more dads because you're really good at interviewing. But nothing's worse than, thinking you made a bond with someone, and then like you send them like links to your blogs, and then like maybe they hear something political that they disagree with, and all of a sudden like your love fest turns cold. So nothing's worse in this world, and I guess I have an ultra sensitivity to it, which is, because I've been this like stay-at-home, dad comedian for the past 3 years, and if I'm brutally honest, I am a total dependent on my wife because she's been bringing home the bacon. So I think this like heightened sensitivity extends to, this podcast. Me thinking, well, I don't want to have to be dependent on other people to do this podcast because I've only had to be able to do that for one episode. But Adam Groom, who was my first interview, did help me touch up my logo. And like Bob Dylan says, tell me someone that's not a parasite, and I'll say a prayer for him. So I all know that, we need to work with people, and like I get all that, but my point being here, folks, is that I'm just not going to go out of my way to hound do-it-all dads to interview in the podcast when their presence isn't necessary for me to say what I have to say. Can I get an amen? I said amen. I said amen. My timing's way off. I will never take 2 weeks off from this podcast ever again, I promise you. Let's get back to coming to terms with my ex-social life pre-3 kids. I really love writing this piece, actually, because it's very open and honest, and I was able to, relive my past, in California. Because basically, since I came out from California, I've been with Natalia. She dropped the album first, and then eventually I came around. But we're not going to get to that. Let's get to back to coming to terms with my ex-social life pre-3 kids. I'm so lucky Erica pushed me to write, create, and stretch my imagination. Bought us tickets for the taping of Friends for my birthday at the Warner Brothers lot in Burbank. At the time, she pointed out this writer talking to Ross between takes, saying, "You could be him." Thank you, Erica. Because, when I met you, did I think I was semi-funny? Yes. Did I think that I had a opportunity to make a career as a professional funny man? Not in a million freaking years. No way, Jose. And then we started writing scripts together. And, when I've seen psychics before, audience, they say they have I have a female angel overlooking me, and I totally agree with that sentiment. Females have definitely provided a nurturing, encouraging, inspirational light for me. And don't get me wrong, I definitely like to make men laugh and impress them, but it's always more of a turn on to make women laugh. So, and also it's more of a turn on for them to emote about your writing, and obviously, women are just, more in touch with their emotions, so, they get, it's nice when, I get it, most of the famous writers of all time have had gay leanings or full-blown 100% homosexual. D.H. Lawrence, obviously not Bukowski, Mr. Masculinity incarnate. I love Bukowski. I love the way that he really, I wouldn't say he put prostitutes on a high pedestal, but the fact that it's the oldest profession in the book and it's not even legalized, just for safety purposes alone, is beyond me. It's legalized in Melbourne, by the way, and which I think, again, is not the number one reason to move to Melbourne in Australia, but definitely another, reason that supports the fact that Melbourne is very sophisticated and cosmopolitan and not a puritanical, limited, city that, understands that, people are going to pursue those services for whatever reason, and we might as well keep the women and the men safe as much as humanly possible. So, good for Melbourne, Australia, for making that happen. John Safran, I think you have kids. I don't know, but I want to talk with you. Can we do something together? Can we write a film, a book, something? John Safran. I'd say my favorite Australians in this world would be John Safran. I really like Jim Jeffries. He's got in a little... I like Jim Jeffries. I'm just going to leave it at that. He's very funny. He's great. So is Safran. If I can interview two Australians, those would be the guys. I'm drawing a blank on anyone else. Those are my top two, without a doubt. Let's continue with the material. Coming to terms with my ex-social life pre-3 kids. And I'm not trying to say I'm super special for having 3 kids. It just adds more momentous, dramatic of a setup. And it's also based on reality, so I'm going to use what I got. I'm going to use what God gave me. So suck on it. Deal with it. Coming to terms with my ex-social life, pre-3 kids. I love living with my roommate, Jay Master Jay, in Sherman Oaks for the most part. He really cared for me. Still does. We went tripping on mushrooms when I got fired for my first and only bartending job that had at a fancy 4-star French restaurant in West Hollywood on La Brea. After months of searching, I truly did knock on literally every door. And I didn't, not in downtown LA, but everywhere throughout West Hollywood and Santa Monica and the Van Nuys Airport, which I felt very cool recognizing in an Entourage episode where Vince was flying over the Gulfstream. Met a guy there. He was actually his guy. He was a Chinese dude, but he was the bartender at the Van Nuys Airport. It's a great LA story, and he told me that the guy that taught him how to be a bartender used to be the personal bartender for Frank Sinatra. But with Frank, and I've also heard this, from other sources, is that he was very straightforward. He would drink his Jack Daniels on the rocks, and that was that. It's a Tennessee whiskey, by the way. A lot of people don't know that. Tennessee whiskeys are known for being a little bit more on the sweeter side. Think like Georgia peach, right? And so that was his drink, and he would kill basically almost like a bottle a night. But he would have his mixologist, bartender, personal bartender, make fancy drinks, for all of his other friends. But Frank was always a just Jack in the Rocks guy. I thought that was a cool detail. Coming to terms with my ex-social life pre-3 kids. Lizette was statuesque and pretty. Looked like a Latino Terry Hatcher. Paid her way through law school. Loved my poetry. Made her cry when I graded her blowjob once. Sorry, babe. You were perfect. Coming to terms with my ex-social life pre-3 kids. Melissa. Had great boobs. Was a cool Indiana gal. Worked on the Fox side. Friends were awful. When I sold wine, I sampled dessert ice wine on her innards. Never loved her, though. Sorry, pretty. At least with Melissa, folks, I had the Menchie balls to actually break up with her in person at this tea house in West Hollywood. And, do I feel bad about it? A little bit. But I didn't love her. But we could have died like jackrabbits in a new place. And it would have been fun. I was also living in the valley, so she was far at that point. Distance-wise. She wasn't really that far. I remember getting upset because she wasn't, thanking me enough for helping her move. Totally blame my dad for my insufferable ego. I remember the first time I met Melissa. I was at a bar in Hermosa. I remember she, flashed me her panties. It was really hot. She was really cool. But again, I was never in love with her. But, we took a couple nice trips to Santa Barbara. Day trips because I had no money. Obviously, nothing's changed. So much for me evolving in this world. Coming to terms with my ex-social life pre-3 kids. I did sing karaoke every Friday. I lived in Sherman Oaks with my roommate Jay. There I met Leslie from the Valley. Good old Leslie. She loved me. She sold porno DVDs for a living and was the #1 biller. She did very well. Obviously, this is Paul Thomas Anderson material that unfortunately I've done absolutely goonish with. Leslie was really good to me. Love you, babe. Coming to terms with my ex-social life pre-3 kids. My wife never listens to these podcasts. And so this isn't using a future divorce if my parenting book, The Stay-at-Home Comedian, Controlling Me Gets Through Comedy, doesn't become the resounding success that I pray for it to become. I don't pray for it to become a success. I know it's going to be a success. I just got to finish writing it. So, let's get back to coming to terms with my ex-social life pre-3 kids. I'm beginning to feel that I sound way too relaxed during this podcast. I haven't had to hit quota in 5,000 years. Coming to terms with my ex-social life pre-3 kids. My roommate, Jay, fat-shamed a Mexican girl who really loved me. Heart still breaks for her. So sorry, gorgeous. She worked as a film editor for MGM. Asked her to choke me. I'm sorry. She asked me to choke her. So I banged her in the turtleneck. Oh! I'm not mentioning her name, but she was actually the girl that was really the reason why I stopped being with Melissa. You know, we met. It was like a Saturday night. I was in West Hollywood. I think I saw a movie that night. They had this great theater in by the Farmers Market, by the Grove. I remember reading like the Los Angeles Business Journal. I think it was like the most expensive movie theater ever built. I've ever seen Kill Bill there, and I gave a resounding, extended like standing O afterwards, which is very rare. The only time I remember clapping in a movie theater prior was literally after the first fighting sequence in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And it wasn't only me at that point; it was like the entire crowd, which is it was definitely unprecedented. Like, how cool is that, right? Everyone starts clapping during like mid movie. I mean, that's very rare. When I saw Star Is Born with Lady Gaga, I was clapping at the end. Totally infuriated me that everyone else did not feel compelled to, join in or just clap on their own. What are you gonna do? Great movie. Strongly recommend it. Coming to terms. I also strongly recommend Barry on HBO. So funny. I love Henry Winkler. Adam Sandler's a genius for casting him in like anything. Coming to terms with my ex-social life, pre-3 kids. Again, I did get to sing karaoke every Friday night at this dumpy bar called The Barrel in Sherman Oaks with my roommate Jay. And always feel excessively white after he killed to Eminem before Slim Shady became a Trump-triggered bitch boy like the rest. So I don't know if you guys are aware of this. I'm sure you are. I mean, Eminem, not too long ago, he called Trump a Nazi, and I remember like my response in my mind being, Eminem, Donald Trump, when he purchased Mar-a-Lago in West Palm Beach, Donald Trump was responsible for lifting the ban on Jewish membership. Slim on facts, shady. That always gets a laugh. Slim on facts, shady. So this is my impersonation of Eminem and Dr. Dre involved in business merger talk after LinkedIn was purchased by Microsoft for like $1 gazillion. Slim Shady says, "Word! LinkedIn is lamer than ever, yo!" Coming to terms with my ex-social life. Pre-3 kids. I auditioned for the reality show Blind Date in the same room as a guy named Disco Dan. I ended up getting on the show. And in the end, all I got from it was a free meal and herpes. So, I don't think I've mentioned the fact that I've been on Blind Date on this podcast. We're now 51 episodes in. This is the first episode of the second season. Literally, our first activity, which I was unaware of at all, was my date getting her super bushy fun box waxed. And she'd obviously been growing out for some time because it was a totally disheveled bush. It had this springy, coily, quality. Basically like her bush, her mouth and her muff looked like a busted slinky. And of course they didn't, on Blind Date, this wasn't, Showtime After Dark, Emmanuel, 5 million 2 times infinity episode. So we didn't see her mouth and muff. But that experience did inspire me to come up with the expression mouth and muff and busted slinky. So I'm grateful for it. But this is a true story. So at the end of the date, I went on Blind Date solely to entertain my friends back home. I wasn't thinking I was going to get discovered or anything like that. And obviously, I was not obviously, but at the time I had a commercial agent in the Valley, and I was applying and I was auditioning for commercials here and there. That's why I became a bartender in the first place, which I mentioned before, so I could keep my days open. Of course, I get the bartending job and then I have no auditions. But anyway, so and I'm not a good actor. I'm good at playing myself, and I can improv. Well, I took some acting classes in Second City. I had a beautiful hookup with a girl that was an assistant for Harrison Ford, actually. Afsoon? No, that wasn't her name. God, what the hell's wrong with me? How much weed did I smoke in LA? Anyway, I'm totally going off topic, guys. I'm just, trying to add some narrative flow over here. We have lots of jokes to come. So, again, coming to terms with my ex-social life pre-3 kids. It was hard to top my summer wind, summer lamb. Yummy. Summer was very yummy. But even sweeter inside. Meaning she was just she still is. I don't know why she'd change. Pure sweetness. Personified. Her plan for us? Move us to Santa Barbara so she'd day trade so I could write books. I fucked that one up. Love you forever, perfect. Coming to terms with my ex-socialite, pre-3 kids. I do shotguns of weed with Summer in my Hermosa Beach apartment. She didn't even like weed, despite going to the same school as Obama in Hawaii. Some baller, Obama was, by the way. A bench player at an all-Asian private school in Hawaii. Coming to terms with my ex-social life, pre-3 kids. Erica's dad in Westwood had a keg of Sierra Nevada Pale Ale on tap constantly. Fuck. Now I have to be happy with my father-in-law's leftover brown ale from Maine 2.5 years ago. My chest. Coming to terms with my ex-socialite, pre-3 kids. I mentioned it before. Actually, this is a different Leslie. Leslie had issues. Still, she did look. I'm sorry. I was talking about different Leslie. I'm such an idiot. I don't believe I'm realizing that I dated 2 different Leslies. What the hell's wrong with me? Coming to terms with my ex-socialite, pre-3 kids. Leslie had issues. Still, she did look like a shorter Lorraine Bracco to me. Your dad's house in Malibu was sick. Doesn't make up for her terrorizing me at work, almost getting me arrested, and the restraining order. True story, folks. She came up to my apartment in West Hollywood. It's like 11:30 at night. She's got mascara all over her eyes, and there's cops. She said, you beat her. I goes, guys, I'm a nice Jewish boy from Westchester County. And they're like, that means nothing to us. Yeah, you think you're the first Jew from Westchester to come out here to Rapewood and try to make a name for yourself? So, before I know, I was in handcuffs. Thank God I had the presence of mind to record her crazy whacked out messages after I broke up with her. And they ended up letting me go. I actually got an apology from the cop that night. True story. Like, dude, I'm sorry. You would end up with such a whack job. But Leslie was sweet. She just got crazy once I broke up with her, that's all. She's heavily medicated. She's on, like, lithium. When I took one of those pills, like passed out at the wheels. Awful. Anyway, coming to terms with my ex-socialite pre-3 kids. My first year of doing open mics in LA was humbling. I fumble an opener joke about Ron Artest. My savior and only laugh was this. I love black guys because they don't discriminate against the P word. Of course I said the actual P word. Coming to terms with my ex-socialite pre-3 kids. It wasn't so great to begin with. Especially knowing I had to slam J&B Scotch on the rocks around my high school friends after college to fill the entertainment void left by the lackluster blobbering company. The end. Definitely ended that piece on a very dour note. So, I don't want to do jokes right now. I have so many jokes. I'm like drained from writing jokes. Who would think? I have all these jokes. So why did I decide to open with that? Well, folks, on Twitter, I use these hashtags I mentioned before, like EdTech and FinTech. That stands for Finance Tech. Plumber. Plumbing, private equity. And these are like my new comedy buds. And a lot of the jokes that you've heard in this podcast, are been jokes that they've uh, received well, jokes that they've retweeted. So they obviously made them laugh. The jokes that made them laugh, and I wrote them because they made me laugh first. Again, I had a professor, Jim Andrinos, who used to work for Bill Hicks and Sam Kinison, and he goes, when I took his comedy course in Manhattan, he goes, do 3 open mics a week and write material. Have 2 standards. One, make sure that it's well written by your standards and have high standards. And number 2, make sure that it makes you laugh. So, but I'm like almost like 30 minutes in. I mean, how much material did I produce this week? I don't believe I'm already 30 minutes into a podcast. I literally have like 19 pages over here. Folks, I've only had like a 2-week layoff. I'm not trying to stroke myself. I'm not trying to turn this into the Michael Savage podcast. But perhaps I'm feeling drained because of the news about the massacre in that synagogue in Cleveland. And it was just the most awful thing. I mean, after 9/11, I don't think I've been this upset and angered over another, senseless killing. And, and what's really annoying too is, this guy Bill Mitchell, I don't follow anyone on Twitter anymore, but, I like to, read his opinion on, Trump and, other stuff. He tries to be funny, it's not in him. I used to be an ex-executive recruiter headhunter, so I could appreciate anyone that's, made a career in that hustle. But, like, his only comment about, like, the synagogue, murder was, well, the guy was anti-Trump and blamed the Jews on the caravan, blah, blah, blah. It just, Trump is a friend of Israel. And I'm thinking, like, how many Jewish friends does this Gentile have exactly? I doubt many, even though he lives in Florida. I doubt many. I sent him a tweet once, this guy Bill Mitchell. Maybe he was going after, like, Seth Rogen. Well, yeah, it takes balls to go after Seth Rogen, knowing that he could buy and sell you daily for the rest of his life. I go, you want to go after, like, your Moby Dick? Go after Seth MacFarlane if you got some real balls. If you really have true confidence in your expressive prowess, Bill Mitchell. So, never got a response back from that, obviously. So, this morning, I'm not a guy that, I'm not a guy that, on average, throughout my 42 years on this earth, have given prayers to people that have lost loved ones, just because it hasn't been a routine of mine. And these days, I am doing morning prayers, and I saw this great documentary on John Coltrane on Netflix, where it was really great. He was super spiritual, cleaned up his act. I didn't know if he started smoking the weed again, but I know he smokes cigarettes, which is I'm not sure it's a drug, but he was really into heroin, and then he just stopped everything. But he really was like a spiritual warrior. And I did not know this. John Coltrane, he wrote a song for Japan after we dropped the big one on them, and he did like a gazillion concerts there before he died. It's really, really miraculous. I love John Coltrane. He's the best. I like him way more than Miles, and I love Miles a lot. So, I'm talking about John Coltrane for a second, and why the hell was I talking about John Coltrane? How did I get on that tangent? Oh, that's right, because I was talking about prayer, and I just don't have much. Growing up, I didn't have much experience with prayer. The only time I prayed, maybe I mentioned this before on the podcast. My first prayer ever, where I asked God of something. I always felt like for prayer, it's very selfish to ask God of like anything. And I was in Cape Cod, and my heart was like so broken. I literally, folks. I mean, REO Speedwagon, Chicago. I listened to these songs on my clock radio. Growing up, I would have visions of walking hand in hand with Kajol, who's like this beautiful Indian American girl. I used to have visions of walking hand in hand with her at this place called White Playland, going on dates. I always had a romantic heart, and I always loved the power ballads, by Warrant and Poison and Cinderella, because they were full of like hope and yearning. It's something I talked about in my Heavy Metal High Trilogy pilot that I pitched to VH1 Classic. Great pitch, they did not buy, no big deal. Maybe a better writer. But, so, that summer, I mean, you understand, I'm like 20 years old. So, I've been on the earth a little bit and had not fallen in love yet, never had a girlfriend. And I said, God, please throw me a bone. I really want to commit this love that I have in my heart for someone. And then he gave me Katie. And it was beautiful. I was strumming my acoustic guitar, which my parents had bought for me. I'm strumming on it right now. I still don't know how to play it, but I was attempting to learn how to play it back then. My friend Sam was taught me a couple of chords. Had long hair. I was rocking the Super Jew Jesus preppy look. White Gap shirt, beige, short khaki shorts. Some more like a full-blown Fagel. So, but I looked, semi-cool. And there she was. Long, silky blonde hair. She was gorgeous. She was so sweet. She gave me the best compliment, Katie. She goes, I never knew that someone can make me so happy. And I didn't know either, Katie. I know I possess that capacity. So thank you so much for giving me that gift. It's really wonderful. But my point, folks, is that, up until that point, I never asked God for anything, ever. So today, this morning, I did my prayers. Well, basically, my prayers are, I thank for my house, which we got through a grant. That is a divine intervention. I don't know what it is. I put my parents call it my comedy grant, and then I thank God for I get into like personalized compliments, where I emote about the specialness of the uniqueness of each of my children. I thank him for that. And then what I learned from this Coltrane documentary was that what he would pray for is that he would pray for the continued means to produce beautiful music. So I do something similar, where now I ask God for, because I don't really think it's being that selfish, is that I ask him for the continued means to produce beautiful writing that can move souls and so uplift spirits through laughter and comedy. And then today, I also made a comment about praying for there to be, if it's even possible, for there to be some form of relief of anguish, for those that lost their loved ones, at that synagogue in Pittsburgh. And, so I love you, God. I love Israel. I love any defender of Israel. And I love any president that sticks up for the Jewish people's right to defend themselves. And, they always say, with comedy, it's an opportunity to fight back and rewrite the narrative, blah, blah, blah. But, I got 3 kids, folks, so, my heart's feeling very, very heavy. Was not feeling this weirdness before because I was in, drug writing land. You could say, it was a form of distraction or entertainment, and working my craft and whatever. But I love my Jewish Americans that defend Israel's right to exist, because when it's all said and done, back in the day, when America wasn't accepting that many Jews after World War II, Israel was the only place that was a homeland for my people. So I want to thank God from the bottom of my heart for making Israel that place of refuge, and for allowing our chosen people to make it grow and flourish to what it's become. And I pray from the bottom of my heart that these senseless, awful tragedies can be avoided and shut down as much as humanly possible in the future. I'm very excited to start the 2nd season of the Doodle Dead Year podcast. I'm not going to apologize for this one sounding somber and heavy-hearted towards the end, but again, I just want to thank God here for the beautiful celestial beams of light that my 3 children represent. I want to thank you for a supportive, loving wife that allows me to continue to do this podcast and gives this family the breathing room for me to write this book that will, the stay-at-home comedian, controlling my kids through comedy. That is going to be a success philosophy book on fatherhood. A nice tribute homage to Napoleon Hill, Rodney Dangerfield, and a lot of my other role models that dug deep when they had children and listened and allowed that other self to emerge, who were able to silence the doubters and the people who thought they were crazy for going down this dark rabbit hole of like creativity and writing when it certainly didn't guarantee an absolute paycheck at the end. And I had this lovely interaction today with an old recruiter bud named Justin. He's working for an ed tech company. He's now involved in sales management. He's a leader now, and we always got along well. We always talked Knicks. I know he's a deadhead too, like myself. Got 2 kids, lives in Bedford, so he's obviously doing very well. And I sent him a nice note. I went to this bagel shop in Daytona, and then afterwards, he said whatever I had said. He goes, "Excellent phrasing," or "You said that in an amazing way as usual." And he said he was really glad I was still pursuing my passions, and I thought that was really sweet. And I think that was a form of divine intervention. I got to be honest with you. Because to be perfectly honest here, folks, literally after I met with him, I'm like, oh, he works for an ed tech company. And then I'm researching, I'm like, oh, an internal recruiter position. Well, maybe I should pursue that, and I could use Justin as a referral, and my wife will bust my balls less, and I could do more stand-up in the city. And then I mentioned to I'm like, oh, they have a chief marketing officer position. I could bullshit my way into that role. I've interviewed those folks when I worked at Robert Half. We could buy and sell those guys daily. But, meanwhile, my wife's getting tense, like, well, I don't know. How are you going to do that? And then I got to know from Justin. So I'm not giving up. This great thing that Napoleon Hill talks about is that, there's a story about, like, of a miner. He was basically, like, 4 feet away from, like, striking gold. And he stopped, and, like, he was never able to, like, hit the jackpot, for his family. And I'm not going to quit when I'm 4 feet away. We got 20 more chapters in me, and I'm going to bang them out before the birth celebration of my second son, Arthur Morrison Cornbluth, which is really when this entire, do it all dad, podcast, stay-at-home comedian journey began. And, I'm going to make sure that you guys, and I'm talking my 3 children, Matilda, Arthur, and Samuel, I'm going to make sure that, you knew that, Daddy didn't give up, and he had faith in himself and God, and a guy giving all you guys to me for a reason. And that's to write this book on my fatherhood success philosophy. Control and make it through comedy. Stay-at-home comedian. Working remote can make our kids great again. Because you guys are living proof of it. So for these next 20 chapters, we've already got enough funny in it. So I think it's time to just spend a little bit more time talking about the beauty and specialness of my relationship with you guys, and talk about just a little bit more about how much more you benefited from Daddy being here. And I just want to thank my KISS Army, the best 3 boosters a man could ask for constantly raising my spirits, for constantly giving Daddy a kiss or a handhold, kiss on the cheek. They like to touch my beard. Never they've been able to sense Daddy being sad or dejected or pissed off at Mommy for busting my balls unnecessarily. So I love all of you. Obviously, I love my wife too. And we will be celebrating in Copenhagen next summer in style, because your daddy will be a published book author, and all of you, especially my 3 children, are going to say, I knew you could do it, Daddy, and you could do it all along. And I know God didn't give you 3 kids to me to have a panic attack over it. This is Dude All Dad Your podcast, dad-friendly entertainment for you and me, controlling our kids through comedy. Can make our kids great again. And I'll talk to you guys soon.